Hello and welcome to part 4 of the event planning series. We will be finishing up tonight with Crat, Crat, and Metacrat. My guest tonight, as usual, is Dark Lord Darian. We may be having Countess Feywellen later on, though she may not be able to come, and we will do our best to cover her position for Metacrat, if that does come up. So, let us begin with what we have. So, we are going to start with Crat. Now, before I get way too ahead of myself, if you have any questions throughout this, please tag me in either the Twitch chat or the Discord chat for the Nine Blades, or on the Discord. If you have any questions, please let us know and we will answer them as we get them. There we go. Okay. And we're good to go. If you cannot hear or see us for any reason, also please let us know. There have been some gremlins around causing havoc, so we'll deal with that if it comes. I am hearing a bit of an echo, so hopefully that gets resolved. Okay, I think we're good. Remember to drink along if you're with us. Hydrate. Hydration is important. And here we go. Okay, Crat. So, in the form of all the other classes we have done so far, we're going to discuss the bid, the pre-event, the event, and the post-event work. So, we will start with the bid. So, for the bid, it is important, first and foremost, to discuss finances with the autocrat. So this might be some negotiation, trying to figure out what is essential, what needs to be purchased, what needs to be made, and what can be simply borrowed or what pre-exists. I know we've talked previous about lots of loaner things amongst our park members for quest items. So always look around first. As much as money as you can save on that end will be a boon to your bid, and also will help with the bid vote itself. If you have an exorbitant budget for your quest, and there is another bid competing against you, that could be a major mark against your bid. And you don't want anything to detract from your bid, so that you have the chance to actually run the event. So, other than that, what you're going to want on the bid is the general idea of the quest itself. If there is a theme or a storyline that you have in mind, you want to express it in the bid. You also want to have the schedule that you have planned, right? Again, you're going to want to talk with your autocrat, figure out where quest is going to fit. You're also going to want to know whether or not you're doing more than just the main quest, right? You might have the main quest on one day, you might have night quest the day before, and you may also have tavern RP, intermittent during the event. Could be an ongoing thing throughout. Either way you go, you want to make sure that any instances of quest on the schedule, that you have that stated. You also want to have the form. So basically, if it's a railroad sort of thing or a sandbox, so just kind of explaining what those are. Railroad would mean that you are going in a specific order, right? Everyone goes to this station, and then they go to this station, and then they go to this station. It is important that they don't split up and divide and conquer, right? Everything is done in a specific order. Oh, hello, Trey. This is my cat, Trey. Oh, hi, buddy. Yeah, I know. You're sleepy. A sandbox would be the divide and conquer sort of setup. That's when you would have things all over the place, and there is no specific order of where you need to go first, last, middle, end. And it also doesn't matter how many people are going to those locations, right? So, going on to that section. Size of the questing parties. If it is the sort of thing to where you have multiple questing parties going all at once, if maybe it's like a dungeon crawl scenario where you have teams that are going at different times, where you've got like a setup, like a schedule setup, and you can only have one team going through the dungeon at a time. You're gonna want to stay if that's that, or if it's one giant questing party all going together throughout. These are all things you're going to want to choose, and then again state in the bid what kind of thing you're doing. So that's pretty much for the bid. Darian, is there anything that you would like to add? Any thing that for the bid?
When you're doing your bid, you're looking at your props and your the goodies you're going to use in your quest. You can get really creative with some of these. If you're looking for something like a magic orb, you can get something like just a white balloon, white latex balloon. You blow it up, you fire a little tiny glow stick in there, or some of those rave finger lights, little LEDs. Pop it in, tie it off. That's going to glow the color of the glow stick or the finger light that you had in there, and you can hang that from trees. They're cheap, they're inexpensive, and in some cases, like the rave finger lights, are usually about LEDs with like little tiny batteries about this big, and they're reusable. And the balloon, okay, isn't reusable, but it's like 2 cents. So you can get some of this stuff for really cheap, and it's really effective. You don't have to break the bank to get some really cool stuff. You just have to think outside the box.
That's it, for sure. Also, dollar stores, things like that, they are very cheap things.
Mm-hmm.
Things like thrift shops also can have some really cool things, but very, very, very inexpensive. So all sorts of different options to consider. So next,
if you can get your hands on a book of riddles, it's also really good too.
Oh,
you can go through, you can find them. If you really want to hold a quest party up for an hour, you go to the back of the book, pick the worst one. Perfect.
It's true. That's true. Also, right, internet is free. You can always, find those resources online as well. Yeah, so pre-event is going to be a lot of that, figuring out the nitty-gritty of the things that you're going to need, right? That's when you're going to be fleshing out your story, and knowing exactly what items you're going to need and for which characters, at what point in the quest, where things are going to be located. Basically, what are the essentials, what are the would like to haves, and basically understanding the cost and the realistic time when things do need to be made. Being able to sort of go, this is something that's gonna take 3 months to make. We have a week, right? Like, right. Gotta be realistic about what can be made, right? Having a 50-person NPC team and insisting that every single one of them have custom garb, it's not likely you're going to get all of that done, and that's going to be just a pretty penny on how much that's going to cost. So just a side note. Mechanics, right? You're going to want to figure out all that super nitty-gritty stuff. You can have that general sort of thing in the bid, but this is going to be the point to where you're going to really flesh it out. And also, if you need to change up stuff a little bit, right, this is where you're going to, the real, like, meat and potatoes, right, the heart of it, you're going to try to figure that out as much as possible, flesh it all out. You're going to want to know the story, like, completely. What NPCs, like the characters that you're going to have in this story, how it starts, whatever the climax is, and how it resolves, right? You want to make sure that you know with the flow of it. Darren,
you also want to be careful. Yeah, you want to be careful how much you allow the players to impact the story. Because I've run D&D campaigns, I've run some quests where they just run right off the rails. Somebody made a choice you did not expect. They took the third option when you only gave them 2, and now you're left going, okay, that does fix the problem, but and if you don't know your story in and out, you're going to wind up looking at it going, oh, what do I do now? Um, but if you know your story in and out, okay, so then this happens. So, yeah, players can find solutions to screw up your story as fast as you can think of solutions to stop that. So, be on your toes.
Yeah. All right, and I'm gonna get into that second a little bit later, but I can basically just kind of express now the sort of you want to have backup plans, knowing kind of try to figure out what you figure the PCs are gonna do. And how much that's gonna mess things up, right? If you have a whole entire thing where it's an option for them to just go and kill all the NPCs and take all their stuff, and they never say a word, that's gonna be a bad situation, right? Because all of a sudden you don't have a quest, you might as well have just had a battle game, right? So you're gonna want to fit in mechanics to where you can't fight them, right? Have them wear gold sashes, be non-fighting NPCs, right? Or have it actually be a thing to where there's deterrence, right? Where if you kill them, you can't get their item. Their item disappears or ends up with another person, and it becomes twice as hard to get the thing, right? So after the first, like, oh, okay, so this made things so much worse for us. Don't kill any of the NPCs, right? Have those little things in there. Plan for the worst, right? Hope for the best, but be on your toes. Know that there's going to be just those certain things that you always end up seeing. Plan for those things. Plan for the solution to those things, because they will happen.
Don't be afraid to say no to your players too. Sometimes you have to.
Sometimes
no, you
it's gonna be just
villager.
Yeah, sometimes it's gonna be too much. But there's also gonna be different scenarios to where you can do more of that yes and kind of thing. You can equivocate. You can, if it's tiny little stuff, for the enjoyment of them, yeah, just let them have things sometimes, right? Just be like, oh, I'm a werewolf. I can see good in dark. Can I use that in this? Like, yeah, you can see 5 feet ahead of you. No one else can see anything ahead of them, just you. So yeah, you can see 5 feet, right? That could be a thing where it doesn't break that situation at all, right? 5 feet is nothing, but they'll go, oh, guys, I can see 5 feet into this, right? And like all of a sudden it engages them, it excites them, right? All of a sudden they feel so more like engaged, and it builds the immersion. And you handed them something so minuscule that it doesn't hurt or affect anything, but you just made their whole entire night. So, right, know the things where you can do the yes and, right, where you can give things and have a little play. But yeah, if there's like real game breaking things, right, it's like, oh, I teleport to the end. Like, nope. And like, you attempt to teleport to the end, but all of a sudden you feel this magical pushback and you end up right where you began, right? Like, play with it, right? Have an answer. But again, right? Know that somebody's going to try to do that. Someone's just going to be like, oh, no, I bamf. Oh, no, I have a magic answer for this. Oh, no, I can just... Right, my character is a god, and I can just snap my fingers and have any item that I demand, right? Plan for all of that. Shenanigans.
I still remember being part of one quest party. We nicknamed ourselves Team Profit because all 4 of us were in it only for the money. And we kept pushing the chainmail warrior with this was V7, so it was a 5-point suit of chain. We just kept shoving him into all the traps and everything, all the blade traps, and we just used him to just used his corpse to block the traps. And the QM was like, okay, I guess that works for the first one. By the third one, okay, no, the machine just, tears up the body, so you can't just summon res him 5 feet down the way and completely break my quest. So you can learn you can adapt, but just Players will find these things,
They will
and
find it.
yes, you can totally shove him into that trap and block it up, and he explodes into 1,000 little pieces, and you can't res him. But he does respawn. But now you're chewing through his lives. So, yes, and is a wonderful answer to use.
Yes. For sure. So, at this point, you've figured out the mechanics, you figured out the story, you figure out the NPCs that you want. Now you need to cast the NPCs. Know who would fit well into those roles. You might even want to create roles, right, with specific people in mind, right? Knowing what individual strengths are for role-playing certain types of characters. You want to make sure that you're going to have folks that are good with improv, that are good with communicating, and honestly remembering what they need to, what their task is. Right, we've seen some cases in some quests where there'll be NPCs and they completely forgot what they were supposed to do, and all of a sudden they ended up giving out red herrings because they didn't know what they were supposed to give, so they just gave something, or they gave misinformation, and that information ended up derailing the whole rest of quest because everyone just went, okay, our mission is this, and it was like, no, you're supposed to go that way. There's nothing. Oh, no. They went straight to the end. They didn't go through the whole quest. Like, right, you're going to want to make sure. Yeah.
That doesn't make a bad afternoon. It doesn't make a bad afternoon. If you're QMing, sometimes the best thing you can do. All right. We're doing this now. Improv, it's about people having fun, and if they're still having fun, let it go. Unless it's part of a massive story arc that you're working on. It's an afternoon.
That's gonna be one thing, right? You're gonna want to be flexible with it, but also, right, especially if you've got a very specific storyline, and this leads to this, and like they need this item or this information to finish the quest, right? You might end up needing to step in as an NPC sort of character and get them back in, right? So have that in mind and be able to plan for that as well. If you have to all of a sudden be a character, have a character already pre-established in your head. If, like, some QMs are very just out of character, they're not going to be there, and they're just going to hover and watch everything. Some questmasters. Some questmasters are, they play a character during the quest that will guide them along the way and feed them information when needed, right? That's an option. Another option is having PC NPCs. So this is another role that you would need to cast if you're going that route. So basically, you'd have somebody be in there just doing their regular character as a PC would, and they'd be going around the quest, but you would have them have specific information, and have them not try to solve all the things, right? Make sure that they're getting other people to solve them, right? Because they'll have the answers and whatnot. But they'll be able to, from the inside, right? If they see things are getting really off track, right? They can pull them back a little and be like, oh, guys, what is this? This is weird. We should probably look at this, right? They can do it from the inside, right? So sometimes that's going to be a useful trick for you. But again, right, in that process of casting your NPCs in this pre-event work, you're going to want to have that individual or individuals pre-established. You're going to want to talk to them and hire them before the event, right?
While you were talking about the PC NPC or the quasi NPC,
yep.
It made me think of something. If you are going along with your party and solving things, or sorry, not solving things, but pointing them in different directions. If you're running a weekend-long event and they're really struggling to get through, say, the Friday night quest, don't be afraid to give them the hints, just to keep the story going. But don't make it an auto win where you're solving all the problems for them. There's a huge difference between giving a good hint to get them onto the right track and then just handing them the answer.
Yep.
So you have to be very careful on that divide.
Right. And if you're... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Right. Again, if you're casting somebody in this role, right, you can give them as much or as little information as you like. You can also give them very little information, but then start feeding them stuff as you go, right? Just be like, okay, that wasn't enough. Okay. You're like, here's a little bit more, right? I'm going to give you this little bit more. But again, right, it's going to be very important that they understand that they cannot be the one to solve the stuff, right? They cannot be the one to be in there using the items, putting the pieces together, right? They are essentially an NPC, right? Their job and their role in the quest is to get people back on track and to give hints if needed. But they are an inside NPC, essentially. They're just playing their character and have more information that they will use sparingly to help get people back to the thing. But they are by no means supposed to be just a regular PC where they have this metagame information and then they go try to win the quest by themselves. That's not how that works. So communications will be very, very important in this.
Really choose someone you trust to play the role properly. I've done this one in some of my D&D campaigns to use a quasi NPC to help newer parties along or inexperienced parties along. But I've also used that same quasi NPC role to right before the party finishes to steal the win out from under them so they can come in for episode 2 or tomorrow night's quest. And it really changes the dynamic because nobody or most players aren't expecting that betrayal from within. They're not expecting the NPC to be in the party with them. So you can also use these quasi NPCs in some pretty clever ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be necessarily a helpful role.
Right. Again, it's a plant. Also, just before I move on to the very next section, you can also have somebody be in there without any information whatsoever, and just be like, hey, if you notice somebody's off in the end and they're not getting to get, solve anything, no one's RPing with them, right? Could you just make sure that everyone else in the party that's not getting to enjoy things and not getting to have those fun experiences, make sure that you take care of them, right? You can have somebody that's just the, caretaker, right? Where literally they're not even an NPC. They have no information whatsoever. They're not a NPC by any means. You just be like, hey, can you do me a solid, right? But again, right, you're hiring them to do the role. And they need to keep to that. They need to make sure that they're not going to just go oh, look, the item. Oh, I'm going to go solve this. When it's I asked you to be the PC NPC to the quasi. No, don't do that, right? Again, trust. Okay, so you have your cast. You have the story. You've got the mechanics. You got all that. Now what? You're going to talk with them. You're going to have an NPC meeting. This is going to be before the event. You're going to make sure that they fully understand their character. If you have more of an open-ended thing, give them sort of the groundwork and then let them come up with their backstory, maybe even their name, right? Let them play around with it. Give them choices, right? With roleplay, they want to enjoy it. They want to have that experience too, because some cases can be really difficult, where it can be less enjoyable for an NPC versus a PC, because they're not going to get as much RP, they're not going to be able to go around and see everything, they might be just stuck in one place for 4 hours on end, right? Some people enjoy them. Some people just like it way more than PCing, but some individuals are really good NPCs, but don't enjoy it as much. So you're gonna want to give them as much as you can so that they can enjoy it. Really, really quick. Yep, so we just have a comment from Countess Finola. Hey, Finola, you're here. Hello. Failure is always an option. Have a plan for if they fail. Yes. Absolutely. You might go in and have, everything set up where you think, okay, this is so obvious. They're totally going to get through this. There's a fail mechanic, but there's no way. There's no way they're going to mess this up. And it just goes to heck, and all of a sudden they didn't get any of the clues. They didn't figure out how it worked. You maybe had a time limit, and that went out the window hard, right? If you don't want them to fail and you have fail conditions, right? You gotta figure that out, and have things, backup plans and whatnot. And if not, right, maybe if you're doing like a quest arc or something like that, or right where it's like maybe that was night quest or something, right? Have it planned in later how to solve that, right? Maybe they didn't get the item, but oh gosh, they need that item to complete the main quest, right? Maybe have a throw-in thing somewhere where there's a chance for them to get that item later, so that it isn't just complete failure. Otherwise, some quests are built to where, yeah, they can fail, and you know what? That's it. Know exactly the type of quest that you're doing. I will say that be advised that when you have a quest that is failable, morale-wise, some people really do not enjoy those types of quests, and they end up being real salty in the end, and just like it having something end on a sour note like that can be demoralizing and may not have them want to do another quest later, right? Especially if it's in a series or an arc, or right, like you have like 3 quests in an event or that kind of thing, and they just like had such a bad time. Everything was just, no one was working together, and it failed because like there was the setup for it to fail. That's gonna be hard to come back from. So
if I could,
yeah, absolutely.
Knowing your audience, also know their experience level. If you get people who are out for maybe their first 6 months, this is a Shire mid-reign, these are all new players, make it a lot easier of a quest. Older players, like I'm pretty sure if myself, Admiral, let's say Lord Valiant, and Finola were on one team, we have a collective. I think I'm the baby of the group, and I've got over 12 years in. So if we lose that quest because it's tough, we're going to accept having lost it, as long as we know there was solutions to the puzzles we missed. We could have changed up how we fought the bosses. We're going to take that a certain way. New players 6 months in, not the same mindset. So knowing that, and I'm not saying make all of you, these are new players as a Shire level quest. It's an auto win. We just give the win, because then winning loses its meaning. You still have to be able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But if there's no jaws, then there's no real snatching going on. And it's just kind of, okay, we went through the motions, flipped the switches, and we won. It's not as fun unless there is the risk. Yeah. But balance that risk.
Yeah. Finola just added, OP team is OP. Yes. Right. If you have a situation where a group like that's gonna be attending your event, they're gonna blow through all of your stuff real quick. So know your audience for how you're writing the thing, right? If you are setting up your quest thinking that you're gonna have an OP team, and it's like first-time questers, they're not gonna get through your quest, right? It's like, know your audience is so important. I can't believe I didn't write that on here. That's huge, valuable information. Definitely know the types of individuals, like the specific individuals especially, right, that will be coming to this. Because, yeah, it's... Oof. Can break it real quick.
Also, for newer DMs, or QMs, or STs, whatever term you want to use, Dungeon Masters, Quest Masters, Storytellers, Narrators. I've played a few LARP systems. Everyone's got a different name for it.
True.
But if you're new at it, consider what type of quest you want to run. Because if you're doing one where we have preset teams, I'm saying we as in 4 people going in as the players. If we have preset teams, using the team I said earlier, myself, Admiral, Finola, and Valiant, you can ratchet the DC on that fight right up. You're going to go get the Sword Knight, or maybe 2 of them, and be like, okay, you 2 are a dragon. You're the final boss. They have to hit both of you 10 times. Because at that point, you know who's going in there, and we are experienced questers. We are experienced fighters. We have really good gear. We're going to be able to keep up. And then when you come across that group from a brand new shire, and they're like 6 months in, and they're at a kingdom level event, okay, you can go to that Sword Knight and be like, okay, bring it down. That one Sword Knight, you can go and do whatever you like. That guy, bring it down a little. Be really nice and gentle and slow, and you can adjust your mechanics for smaller groups. But when you have the entire quest party en masse pushing its way through, it gets a lot harder to balance, because there's myself, Admiral, Finola, and Valiant in that huge group, and we're going to find a way. Well, I'm not going to say. I don't mean that we're going to find a way to be at the front of the group, solving all the puzzles in the front of it. But our strengths are still there. Our equipment is still there. Our knowledge is still there. We're still there. So you still have to balance that versus the newbies who don't have that same level of equipment, experience, and training, time in. So it becomes a lot harder to balance. So think about the style of quest you want to run. If you're doing it en masse, it's a lot faster, but harder to balance.
Yeah. Now,
if you're doing singular groups, easier to balance, but takes a lot longer to put 20 people through that quest.
Yes. So getting back to that NPC meeting.
Sorry.
This is a no worries. This is a good point to discuss with your NPCs. That, right? Make sure they understand that their role is not to win the quest, right? That their role is to heighten the experience and enjoyment for the PCs, right? So explain in that, right? Hey, if you're gonna encounter, right? Let's say you are you're the boss battle, right? If you end up going up against a newer player, don't just crazy drum roll them. Don't like try to kill them, quick and easy sort of thing, right? But if you are going to be going up against more experienced players, right, ones that are also like kitted ridiculously, either melee or magic, or a combination of the two, right, then you can press a little harder on those individuals, right? You can be more of a deterrent, more of a battle for them, but also, right, again, if the intention is for the PCs to win, right, you also don't want them to just be like, okay, 5 sword knights, go kill them all, right? But like, make sure they win, but kill them all. Like, no. Like, you make sure that you're dialing it back, right? In those engagements, right? So, and that's gonna be a good point to express that to them and make sure that it's very clear what their role is, right? Because if they are supposed to like party wipe, if for some reason that's a thing, maybe the whole quest is like supposed to happen in the realm of the dead and everyone has to die to get them there, right? That's going to be a very, very different scenario than make sure they live and win. So it's going to be very, very important that you're expressing exactly what you are expecting of your NPCs in that NPC meeting. So also in that NPC meeting, right, this is gonna be the point where you're gonna say, hey, I'm envisioning your character being in reds and blues. Do you have red and blue garb? Someone might be like, oh, I do, and that'll fit them. Okay, cool. Are you willing to bring it and let them use it for this? Oh yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So I know that, right, we can keep the colors there, that's it. Or maybe they're like, oh, I have red and I have black, but I don't have blue. Okay, well, do you know what? For this group of that, we're just gonna change it to their colors are now black and red. We're just gonna do that, right? Instead of just going like, oh no, I wanted there to be blue, so I'm just gonna make everything from scratch, right? Use a little flexibility there. Figure out what folks have, right? See what they have themselves. See what they're willing to let others use. Talk with also your park mates, individuals that you know will be going and have extra stuff, right? See if they're willing to let you borrow stuff. But make sure that you keep a
tabards
log.
are wonderful for color.
They are, oh gosh, tabards are so good. One size fits all. You can make them all sorts of ways, right? You can put little images or have them be specific colors. Takes very little. Also, oddly enough, masks. You can have like neutral anything on, right? Or just even regular garb won't matter, but having like a mask show, like if you have like 5 goblin masks and you just like are like, okay, you're the goblins. Doesn't matter like basically what they're wearing, as long as they have that, it's a clear marker of what character they're playing, right? So
if you've got a torn off black triangle swatch of fabric, you tie it around someone's face at about this level.
Bandits.
Instant bandit.
Instant bandit. Just like that, bandits. Right? So knowing that very little things, right? You don't have to go, okay, I'm going to make them head to toe garb to express that they're bandits. Bandit. Right? Again, don't squander the event budget on super needless things, especially when, you know, you can just find folks that have got items, right? You're going to do the same thing with your quest props, right? You're going to ask like, oh, hey, does anyone have like a ball? We need something that looks orb-like. Does anyone have something that can work with that? We need a staff for this wizard. Does anyone have like a cool looking stick thing that we can use, right? There's all sorts of options, right? So it's again, you're gonna first and foremost try to see what's around, what is available, what you can get there, right? Because someone might have like the most elaborate crazy thing and it's so cool, but like there is no chance that that's getting there, or you know that it's super fragile and it's totally gonna get broken, right? Know what you're getting with. But again, that's the type of stuff that you're gonna go over in that meeting. You're gonna go over what class they're playing, if it's a regular class, if it's a hybrid of something, if it's a particular monster type, just so that they can know and look it up, see what they're doing, have their gear accordingly, right? Like if they're just like, you're a skeleton, you have no special things, but you've got ice balls. Do you have ice balls? Right? Does anyone have ice balls that this person could borrow for this role? Right? See if the park has loaner gear, and if, you know, the park is okay with you using that gear. Whatever. But making sure that, right, they know what they've got, right? If you have somebody being one that, like, okay, your whole job is just to freeze people. If they don't know how to cast an ice ball or understand the rules or mechanics to ice balls, you're gonna have issues. So, again, during that meeting, it's gonna be super critical that you make sure that they fully understand what their role is, what their abilities are, what their restrictions are, and any pertinent information that they're going to need to be able to pull this role off. So make sure you have this meeting with them prior. So this is all part of that pre-event work. Check what my notes are. Anything you'd like to add? Well, I'm checking my notes there.
You said staves and orbs and everything else. I've got an entire box of quest supplies upstairs, and I think I've got about 4 orbs, 3 staves. If anyone knows I'm going to their event and you need to borrow something, message me. I probably have it upstairs, and I got a Ford Ranger. I can fit a lot of quest supplies in the back of that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, with Finola here, I remember a quest, a bot D that she ran, and she auctioned off the items at the end, just getting the money back for the things. And I bought just this giant bag of quest items. I'm like, yes! Because I was like, I'm going to use this later. I'm totally going to just have this be a thing that people can borrow, and I'm going to use later in my own quests, and also just, here, Tyler, things for you to play with, to write quests that I can experience. And I did. I actually used that stuff so much. I used the puzzles, I used the boxes like crazy, random guard pieces. Yeah, they're great, right? Also, consider that if you are making things and maybe it's something that you can't hold on to, it's too much stuff, or your park doesn't want to hold on to that, right? You can auction that off to then recoup the finances that you spent on it, right? That's an option that you can kind of offset that cost. So Finola's a pro. Talk to Finola. She's a wealth of knowledge. Also,
I also talked to Lord Valiant. He likes making bows and other things for auctions. I'm sure he'll let you use one of them in a quest. Well, maybe not one of the bows, but I'm sure he'll make you something for a quest sometime. If you ask him really, really nicely.
Oh, man. Amazing.
I feel like I just threw my lord under the bus.
Just right under the bus. Just dove right under. We love you, buddy. So, let's say, okay, you've got all the meetings, you got everything planned, the whole thing's written, everyone knows their roles, you've got everything accounted for. You're gonna want to print reference sheets, monster sheets, right? Anything that they're gonna want to have in the person, right? Just like cheat sheets and whatnot, right? You're gonna want to have those printed out, right? This is all part of that pre-event work. You're also, like, for going back a little, all of the items that you have, you're going to want to make a full list of them. Who has what, so you know who to go to grab those items on event day, and who you need to get those from, how to get there, and how to get back to them, because that all needs to be planned before the event. So that's the thing. During this time also, if you do need to make things, you're going to want to make sure that you know the artists that can do it. You're hiring, the artists. You need to make sure that they have enough time. You want to make sure that you're communicating with them to set deadlines. The last thing you want is for them to hold it off to the week till, and then they can't get it done. Or if they make a thing but you have no plan on how to get it to the event, maybe they're not going, then you have this amazing, super complex thing, and it's done, but it's not going to your event, right? So all of that is going to be happening during the pre-event work. Now, real quick, we've got some messages. Yeah, it's buy Valen all those materials, and and he can say no. Okay, so another option, if, and this is coming from Finola again, another option is if you are making custom garb, right? See if they want that garb, and if they want to purchase it, right? Some folks be like, oh, you want to make this crazy elaborate thing? yeah, I'll buy that. to be able to keep that at the end, yeah, I will totally throw down whatever that costs. Yeah, I'll absolutely do that, right? Yeah, that's something I didn't even consider. Yeah, I've seen that happen a bunch. Right, that then doesn't come out of the budget, right? Because that ends up getting paid for by the person. And if you've got an artisan willing to do that and donate that, right, you just get them the materials, and all of a sudden you have somebody making a really awesome garb for somebody, and somebody's now has purchased the garb. So, another just tip. So, during this pre-event stuff, yep.
Just what you're saying with people purchasing garb and all that. Just going back when you deal with your troll Crat later, or you're dealing with the Fundocrat or the Autocrat, whoever's wrapping up the finances, it doesn't appear on the finances at all. Not that it was made or that was a private deal between the two of them. It never hits your ledger. You don't need to record it. You don't need to do anything with it.
Yeah, if
just
it's
FYI,
a complete,
I've seen that on.
I've seen that
appear on them, and it's just a complete yeah.
Yeah, if it's a complete outside deal that has literally nothing to do with, like, let's say you're not getting the funds from the park to pay for the materials, right? You're not none of that is going that, right? You can have a completely separate and be like, hey, if you're playing this role, would you be interested in, like, getting this commissioned by this person and having this at the end? Okay, cool. They're coming with their own garb that's just conveniently ready for the quest, and then get to keep it after. So that wouldn't necessarily, right? If you are purchasing, if you're using the park funds to fund that, and later on, there's going to be an exchange of money after the event or something, right? Then you're going to want to have that. But again, right, that can be done completely separate. Anything that isn't like dealing with actually using the funds from the park or the treasury or wherever that's going, then you don't need to have that.
Yeah, there's a big difference if somebody, if I were going to one of Admiral's events and Admiral was going to make me garb for the quest, I pay for all the equipment, then it's my garb, I walk away with it, versus I do the role in the quest, the garb was made for me, and then I go to the auction and buy the garb there, because it's done its round through the quest, or through the event. It's now part of the budget. So
yes,
just be cognizant of it. It'll keep the ledgers a lot nicer and easier to read.
True. Okay, so
your chancellors will thank you.
Yes, very true. Okay, so at this point, you are going to want to get nitty gritty with that schedule, right? This is going to be the your setup time, right? The NPC meeting, the PC meeting, any preps for buffer time, when the quest is going to start, and if you know the end time, the end time. So, right, those are sorts of things that you're not going to know for the bid. You're going to have the quest starts at 4 p.m. on Sunday, right? That's usually what you're going to have for the bid. This is where you're going to get that super nitty-gritty stuff. And it might not even be, right, half of those things will be on the schedule, and half of that stuff is between you and your NPCs or your helpers, your staff. But you need to know when those things are happening. So you have to actually schedule that pre-event work. That's when this is happening. So other than that, this is also going to be the time that you're going to do any teaser posts, any advertisements for the quest itself, hype stuff. You're going to post any specific rules, the quest abilities, if there are any, that you're allowed to use. If there's any sign-ups, right? If you have questing parties, letting them know that to partake in this quest, you must sign up ahead of time, and your parties can only be groups of 5. Right? That's all stuff that you're going to want to announce ahead of time, and that's all going to be during this event prep time. Additionally, you are also going to want to have your safety net in place, your backup plan, keeping in consideration for weather, and for if you have an NPC that all of a sudden can't make it, right? Having backup NPCs, folks you know that can step into those roles at last minute, where, again, right, you're making sure that whatever garb they have is going to be not a super tailored thing, that you can, right, maybe have a tabard and just be like, oh, this person can't come, but I've got this tabard, and I know it's going to fit you, right? Because one size fits all, right? Plan for those sort of things. But yeah, if you've got a size 2 dress and you have an individual that's a size 30, I don't know if that's even a thing, they're not going to be able to fit into the garb, right? And then you have to have a backup plan of how you're going to garb the individual. And that's going to get super messy. So you're going to want to have those safety nets. Do not go into these things expecting nothing to go wrong, expecting that every single NPC that you hire will get there. Also, last minute, if they're at the event and they get injured or sick and have to bail out, right? Having specific individuals there, they can be like, hey, so if I lose somebody, are you willing to jump in for me somewhere, right? There's going to be some folks that are going to be willing to do that. You're going to want to, however, make sure that they have ample prep time. So let's say you have one NPC that got food poisoning and you know you have to replace them and they have to be, doing this role tomorrow, right? Just be like, hey, everyone, we lost an NPC. If someone's willing to jump in, it's a melee role or a non-combative role, maybe, right? Explain what it is, and like in that sort of regard, and be like, hey, please come see me if you're interested. And then, right, have an NPC meeting with them at that point. Give them as much information as you can, so that they are prepped and ready to go. Yes. Anything to add?
It's almost, you want to think of this sort of like an interactive play. Have an understudy. Your lead role, your main bad guy, your the quasi NPC or the partial NPC that you're going to have hiding in the party. You can have an understudy waiting in the wings, because you never know. I've seen where someone's gotten heat stroke in the day and now they're in their tent cooling off and quest is about to start in 5 minutes. You might not have the time to really go through and say, okay, so in my hour-long quest, I need you to do this in the first 15 minutes, this in the second, this in the third, this in the fourth. But if you take someone saying, okay, just grabbing people from Wolvenfang, Lanky, Sir Godwin, you're going to be my big bad, but I'm going to grab Riley and bring him along because he's also a good sword fighter. I'm going to have you as the understudy just in case something happens, or in case Lanky needs to tag out. Riley, you're going to jump in. But Riley, what I want you to do is this, but I'm going to take him and I'm going to take Nick along, because Nick, if Riley has to jump up and do Godwin's job, then Nick's going to have to jump into Riley's, and everybody just shifts up by one, and everyone's already on the same page. People can get hurt mid-quest.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks, but it happens. And having the ability to flip things like that flip a switch, and everything just keeps rolling on. It's what makes a really good play, and it also helps make a really good quest for people to go, oh, okay, hold, we're going to move the tabards over,
yep,
and we're moving on.
And so, it might also be as simple as just like, now, you now also give this item, right? Right? Or you give this information, you're the one that they're trying to save now, right? Like, right, you can assign their tasks to other NPCs, right? Sometimes you don't have to like completely just replace them. Sometimes you just have to delegate their responsibility to another character, right? If it makes sense in that, right? Or maybe you had just like Goblin number 5, right? You're now a named character. Here you go, right? Here's the garb, here's your stuff, there we go. Right, it might be as simple as just like, oh, we've got 5 goblins. Okay, now we're just going to roll with 4 goblins and you're now a named character, right? You might be able to just use the cast that you got. But have in mind, your understudies, because especially for those, like, those super big roles, especially if it's like heavy RP where you've got just like a page long of history and explanation and they have to do this point, they have to do this point, they reveal this over here, right? If it's a huge complex thing and your quest will be tanked without them, have somebody in mind to have that role if something, God forbid, happens. So, right, you're planning for the worst, hoping for the best. So those are sort of your backup plans.
If I could I just want to double back on what I was saying, think of this as a play. Don't write scripts for people. Give them the freedom to interact. Because of how interactive this is, scripts never work. You cannot make something that regimented. Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you got people that are trained in it, but it's few and far between. But giving them more of just like bullet points, right? And letting them create their own backstory and their own character thing, like what we were talking about previously, right? Giving them something that's more freeform that they can really play around with and they can decide, so long as it's not giving red herrings, giving misinformation, steering the storyline away from, you know, what you're trying to get through, right? As long as it's not like distracting or game breaking, right? Let them have fun with it and don't be like, okay, so here is your 10-page script. You cannot deviate at all, and you must memorize every word. Don't do that. That will not go well. And they will try. Bless them, they'll try. And they will not remember it. And all of a sudden, if the whole entire thing was like, the whole point of this is to go find Bob. And you go, you're going to go find Rebecca. And there's no one named Rebecca. And you're going through the whole quest, and Bob's just like, I'm Bob. Bob. There's like, yeah, that's nice, Bob. We're looking for Rebecca. Right? You don't want to fall into those terrible, terrible traps. Okay, so we are now on to the event day itself, right? So you got the bid. You've done all of your pre-event work. Everything's ready to go. Boom, day of. So, when you are there, you are going to want to collect all the items, collect all the garb that like people are giving you stuff, because oh gosh, if you do not do that right off the bat, you'll be 5 minutes before quest and you'll be like, oh yeah, sorry, no, I forgot it in my tent on the other side of the camp. Right? When you have so many items and so many people to coordinate with, have it all in a single location, and you are like, here is your staff, here is your orb, here is your hat, right? Have everything that you can, have the control over. You know it's all there. You know it's all accounted for, right? You go through your list of all the items that you needed. You go through who was bringing what, right? At that point, you might be like, this person never showed up. Oh, this person isn't coming. Did they hand it off to someone? No, they didn't. Okay, so we need a staff. That person was going to bring staff. Okay, let's talk with folks, see if anyone has something. Now, sometimes it's just going to be like, that stick on the ground there, that's going to be our staff. We're just going to use the stick, right? Right, we're going to go to the fire pile and see if there's anything staff-like, right? Sometimes you're going to have to really just on-the-fly sort of thing, but if you have that pre-list, right, you know exactly right off the bat what you're missing and what you have to all of a sudden quickly find, right? But have that list, go through, collect all the items, and make sure everything stays safe, everything, right, like, if you have anything that could be damaged, anything fragile, anything that is not waterproof, again, right, if you are in a camping event, oh gosh, so much chaotic terribleness can happen. You can get all of your stuff flooded and everything destroyed, right? Remember that, especially if you have things that people are letting you borrow, you have a duty to keep it safe, to take care of it, to make sure that it is returned in the same way that it got to you, right? If there's a grass stain on it, then it's going to come back with that same exact grass stain and no additional grass stains, right? It goes the same way.
On that note, there's two things. One, don't wash grass stains out of people's gear. For some people, it's a sacred badge of some fight that they had.
True.
don't patch holes. Sometimes that's some character thing that you aren't aware of.
I had that actually.
Take it and make sure it gets back.
My character got severed
So-
once, and I ended up getting the sleeve of my coat ripped, and I just had it open for the longest time. It was that like it resembled like it was because of that moment in character, right? So I specifically never patched it. I think I did now, but like yeah. So some people, yeah, that's the thing, right? Don't mess with their things, right? Don't be like, oh, I wanted this thing, I'm gonna paint it. Do not. Right. Now, someone might give you
accidents will
permission,
happen.
right? If there is a little hole in something and it's just like it was not intentional and they don't want it to be there, and you're like, hey, would it be cool if I just patched that up for you? They might be like, yes, please, right? I've been in some cases where somebody had like a hood or something that they were going to use for their character, and then they like ripped it on something like the day before quest, and they're just like like, okay, I got it. It's like, yeah, it's fine, right? Or there was like just loose uncut strands and stuff, and everyone knows I always have little tiny scissors with me, and I am super just like I will always snip extra threads for you, because that's just like a thing that I do. Yeah, no, I've had people just be like, this hood is covered in things, can you? I'm like, yep, I got it. And just cleaning stuff up. We're just hanging by the campfire, and I'm just like snipping threads. It's sometimes things just, but have permission.
I just want to say, please don't snip any of the threads dangling off of any of my garb. I'm pretty sure that's the only thing holding it together. So. I also want to say, while we're talking about borrowing things and things getting damaged or altered, you can store stuff in your tent with the best of intentions, and accidents will happen. My man-at-arms first bought D. He had to row his way out of his tent because his air mattress was floating above the lip for the door of his tent. He was able to literally swim out on top of his air mattress. All of his gear was just flooded out, and you're gonna have borrowed equipment. If you put it in your tent, that doesn't mean it's automatically safe. And at the point where you're rowing your way out of your tent on your air mattress, some people will be very understanding that their stuff is waterlogged. But you at least made the attempt. And when you don't have the equipment or it's been damaged, don't be afraid of getting a bit of ingenuity, running over to the log pile and going, look, I have a branch and a glow stick and a little bit of tape, and now we have a magic staff. Some of the best equipment I've ever had, some of the best quests I've ever been on, and some of the most memorable things have been where someone went, I've got a paper tube and a glow stick. It's now a magic wand. But it's memorable. It's something that will stick with them and they'll laugh about later. So don't be embarrassed. Don't be heartbroken that something happened. Be understanding, and they will be understanding when it's their stuff. Be understanding when it's your stuff, and things will work out if everyone's responsible.
So one thing to also try to mitigate the likelihood of that happening, because expect rain. Just always expect rain. You're going to deal with water. If you have like a rubber bin sort of thing, if you can bring that with you, right, you can store everything in that bin, right? Garb, little prop items, stuff like that, right? In case it does rain, in case you end up rafting out on your mattress, right? Having something that is waterproof, something that, if stuff drops and falls, that it's going to be nice, safe, and secure in there, right? And it keeps it all together. So if that's a thing that is available to do, right? Try to do that. Try to keep them there. It's going to keep them safe and stuff. Also, like, be careful for, because there's some things where you can, like, put it in your car and something like that. Understand that your car is going to get very, very hot, probably. So, right, if it's in summer, if it's in winter, it's going to get very, very cold. And, understand what will happen to those items in those particular temperatures, right? If you have a bunch of wax seals on things and you put that in your car, that's going to be a melted mess by the time quest comes around. So keep in mind, plan ahead, understand weather will happen, and plan for it. Right? Keep stuff safe. So, you have all of your items. Understand that you are going to... Yes, you do. You're going to want to make sure that you are setting up all of these things, that you are handing out all of these items to your NPCs beforehand, right? It might be even just a thing to where it's like, you guys are in charge of setting up your station, right? Here's a tablecloth, here are the 3 things that will be on it, right? You're gonna go before quest starts. These, you're gonna set up the space. It looks like this, here. So either if you're not doing it yourself, you're explaining to your team how it's set up, make sure they understand how it works, but there has to be a planned time for setup. Again, this is going to be when you're also going to work with your autocrat to make sure that there is time to set up, that the space isn't being used by someone else for a different activity, right? If your quest is in the same location as battle game is, and battle game is happening before your quest, and it's like you guys are like 30 minutes into when quest is already supposed to start, and we have nothing set up because you're still in the space. You have to account for that. You have to plan for that. So, right, making sure that that's all organized, and that there is a plan for setup, and also, right, your NPC meetings and stuff like that. Also, be very, very clear with your NPCs when your meeting is, because you're going to want to have a meeting before quest starts. So even if you did it, the beforehand, you talk through everything, have one live in person before quest, right? Because that's going to be also when you're going to hand out all the items. Make sure that everyone's garbed up right, like, make sure everyone has the things. Double check, right? Make sure everyone remembers everything. You're going to hand out those cheat sheets and whatnot. So you're gonna want to have that meeting. Sorry, just checking my notes. I'm on the right page. I am. Yep. Also, a real side note. Self-care is going to be critical before, during, and after your quest, and also promote it for your NPCs. The last thing you want to do is leave them out in the woods somewhere for 4 hours with no water, right? Whatever you're going to be doing, you're going to want to make sure that they're set. You want to make sure that they're not getting totally wasted the night before and are, super hungover, have a huge headache, and are puking everywhere when they're supposed to be the lead character of your quest in 5 minutes, right? You're going to just want to make sure that everyone is safe, everyone is healthy, and give them those reminders throughout the day to make sure that they're okay. And again, also, if you know that that's a situation, you're understudies. So that's the thing. Also, be punctual. If you are having an NPC meeting, if you're having a set time for when you're doing setup, stuff like that, when the PC meeting is, when your quest is supposed to start, if you are not punctual, no one else will be, and they have no reason to be, right? If you are the leader, then lead by example. Make sure that you are keeping to your own rules, right? If you're expecting everyone else to be there at 5, then be there early so that you know that you will be there at 5. Because if you show up, half an hour later and they're all standing around, right, there's gonna be like, why should I listen to you? So that's important. Keep tags, be punctual, self-care. Okay, so let's say you've had your NPC meeting, everyone's got their garb, their items, the whole thing is set up, you've explained everything. You're gonna have a PC meeting where you're gonna explain sort of the map, the layout of the land, right? To make sure that they know boundaries, where they're allowed to go, where things are, any rules, any mechanics, any safety things, all that you're going to explain then, any out-of-character information that you want to give them. You might even have an in-character explanation of what's going on and, that lay-on moment. So that is the thing. when you are doing the quest, right, let's say Leon, everything's going. If you are not being the quest master that is in character and going along with the party, go around and check in with your NPCs when they're not on, right? When they're not RPing with others, make sure that they're doing okay physically and mentally. Make sure that they've got water, that they're safe, right? In some cases, bug spray, sunscreen, things like that. Because I cannot express to you how many times I have been an NPC in a Bhatti quest and did not think about bug spray or sunscreen, and all of a sudden I'm just getting eaten alive, and then I could have sworn I had a water bottle in my bag, and yeah, it's not there. Oh gosh, 6 hours I'm gonna be here. Oh no. Or the sun is setting and I didn't think about a light source. I'm going to just be in the dark for the next 6 hours. Right? Done that before too. Right? Have those sort of things in mind, right? Make sure that also, right, if you're in a situation where you know that the sun's gonna set and you're gonna end up being in the dark, make sure that, like, the groups wherever you've got things stationed, that there are light sources and things like that. Make sure that there are water bottles in those stations. Preset everything, right? Plan for everything. Make sure that there's bug spray, sunscreen going around, right? Maybe you have it on your person and you're going around and checking in with folks. Also, right, MC meeting, do it at them, right? Be like, okay, bug spray, sunscreen, pass it around. If you have not used it, right? Here it is. So, again, right, self-care, you're going to keep sure everyone's safe, everyone's doing good, everyone's happy. So you're going to check in with everyone as you're going. So, okay, at this point, let's say quest end, everything went well. Make sure you communicate with all of your NPCs that quest has ended. Make sure that they come back in, right? You don't want them to not know quest has ended and be out there for an additional 3 hours being like, is anyone coming? I've been in a quest before where it was like pitch black, didn't have a light source, and no one told me quest had ended, and I had just sat there for a good 2 hours after quest had ended, because no one told me. It's not fun. It sucks. So be cognizant of that.
This is where, like the Reeves, you're going to want to grab a war horn, a whistle, something to signify to your players. Because don't forget, when you call the lay on for your quest, no matter how far away the NPC is, they still need to know it's on. Just the same way at the end of it, no matter how far away they are, they need to know it's done.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Highly recommend war horns or whistles.
Great.
They really carry through.
Yes, very true, very true. Because that's the thing too, right? Like, just going back a little bit, but when you do have that lay-on moment, if they don't know it's happening, right, they might be totally out of character, just like mess around. All of a sudden, like, the PCs are there, and there's like, hi there! Like, all of a sudden, right, it's gonna break immersion. It's gonna be a super uncomfortable situation, right? Maybe they didn't put their stuff on yet because they're just like, we got time, right? All of a sudden, it's like, hey, right? You don't want there to be that awkward moment.
I've seen the bandits that were supposed to ambush the party standing in the middle of the trail in front of the party having a cigarette going, oh, you're here. Yeah, it really breaks the story.
Yeah, it breaks it. It does, right? So being able to communicate starts and finishes, right? Have sort of sounds, walkie-talkies, whatever the situation is, right? Just gonna make it really clear. So, but that was going back. So let's say we're here, right?
Sorry.
Quest is ended. We're all set. All your NPCs are back. You're gonna want to make sure that you get all the items back again, right? You're also gonna want to make sure all the stations are cleaned up. Because there might end up being trash afterwards, right? If people are, drinking water and stuff like that, all of a sudden you're going to have bottles everywhere. And this is the quote that we've been using throughout this entire series. Leave it better than the way you found it. Clean up after yourself. Make sure everything is good, it's straightened up. Leave it better than you found it. So you're going to make sure that, right, flagging tape, anything like that, any... like the NPCs' sheets, papers, right? Make sure they're not strewn around the forest, right? Any bottles, things like that. Maybe have like little garbage bags in those particular stations where the main things are, to make sure that folks are throwing away their stuff as they become garbage. Again, but you're going to want to make sure that all of that is taken care of. You're going to make sure that all of you get all the items back. You're going to make sure that everything is in order, right? You're going to go through that list again. Keep that list. And if there's anyone there at the time that you can return those items to, this is going to be, okay, we got all the things, here's this, mark it off your list that you gave it to them, right? Hand this over, quest props, garb, whatever the situation is. You're going to go through that checklist. You're also going to make sure that if there's anything that needs to be returned afterwards, you've got that, and then you have it marked as well. You were going to say something?
Yeah, while you're walking around, especially at something like Bot D, where you have trails and you have bush and all this other stuff, keep an eye out for player gear. I think it was not last year before, we walked around after the event just to see what condition everything was in, looking at putting a bid in, and we found an arrow from I can't even. He's been gone from the game so long I forgot his character's name. Orn. And he hasn't, like the arrow was a good 6-7 years old. Keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. Some players will lose arrows, they'll lose throwies, they'll drop a dagger or a sword running through the bush. And while you're going through, you might be the one person that spots that, and that's a good $10, $15 that player is, patting themselves down, going, "Oh, I've lost my favorite sword. I've lost 2 arrows. I've lost." So you can really help out, and the players really do appreciate getting that stuff back.
Yep, bring everything back. Bring everything back when you're doing that. You're going to the bases and checking everything, right? Anything you find, grab it, bring it back. Oh, man. Okay, so, excuse me. Oh, my goodness. Talking too much today. Okay, if you have not handed over your receipts at this point, go to your troll Crat, hand over everything. If that has not already been done, this is the point, right? Everything's cleaned up, the whole quest is over, everything's done. Hand everything you got over. So, that. So, let's say that's it. Quest is done. The event is done. Post-event. We are now into post-event. You're going to want to do a debriefing. See how everything went, right? Talk with your NPCs, go like, okay, what was there any bad experiences? Was there any issues that you had? What can I do as a quest Crat to improve the situation for NPCs in the future? Stuff like that. Any wrap-up things. I can't read this word. Oh, outro. You might want to just make a post doing an outro. Kind of explain sort of the wrap-up, heroes, thank you so much for coming and saving all of these peasants. You were successful. All of this happened. This person was overthrown and saved the day, right? Have that outro explain kind of what happened. You're going to want to do your thank you, right? You're going to want to thank all of your NPCs, any artisans that helped create anything, any folks that helped set up or clean up or anything like that, any staff. Make sure that you do all of your thank yous. You're going to also want to sort out if there's any prizes or relics that are being handed out. You also want to sort all of that, make announcements, thank you everyone that did this, think of that, this is the outro. These individuals have did this and this, so they are being granted this relic for the next 6 months or something. Also, if you have any sort of relic-y things, make sure that you have permission from the monarch to give out those things. Do not just assume that you can just give those out to yourself. So anything like that, right? If there's non-noble titles or something like that, any sort of prize thing to where you do not have the authority to give it and someone else has to approve it, make sure that you have those already sorted. And then the last thing that I got for this, award recommendations. make sure that you put in award recommendations for your NPCs, for those that did really great jobs, right? Remember to hand out those masks, right? Put in those, right? If you really saw any particular PCs that were really, really good, throw out those recommendations. If crafters, again, right, maybe dragons, garbers, owls for whatever they made, if it was, really good, and depending on where they are in their ladder, make sure, you're throwing that stuff out. And if there's any staff stuff, like roses and things like that, for stuff that was like, man, this kid came around and just cleaned up the whole entire site themselves. They have 1 rose right now. Can we do something there, right? Make sure that, you're looking out for the individuals that help you make this work, because this is very much a team thing, and you want to make sure that they're recognized for the work that they do. So that's the last thing I have. If you have anything to add, this would be the time. Also, if you have any questions or anything having to do with Quest to Crat, this is the time. Again, there is a 20-second delay, so I will do the traditional wait dance as Darian wraps up anything that he would like to add.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it under 20 seconds. Okay, so when you're doing your outro, don't be afraid to do teasers for another quest line you're doing, or if you're running the mid-range quest. Because if someone really enjoyed your quest this time, they might really want to come back up for that quest then. It's kind of, think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What happens at the end of all the credits? There's always that post-credits scene to tease the next movie, tease the next idea. Don't be afraid to do that. It's really fun. Lets you flex your creative muscles and entices players to come back for even more. If you don't have players, you can't run a quest. So tease them a little bit. See if you can get them to come back out, and feel free to ask them for ideas. And in asking for ideas, if somebody helped you write a quest, don't be afraid to credit them, and don't be afraid to go to the Monarch and ask them to issue a smith. Somebody might have 0 smiths, and and that would be their first smith, is just, well, they came up with this really novel idea that I put into this quest. It's part of helping the writing process, and that might just be the key to get them their first order. And that first order could be the reason that new player starts down a line of becoming the next QM, and then you're not doing all the QMing alone. You actually get to quest every now and then.
Advocate for others. Yeah, so at this point, we are going to wrap up the Quest of Crat section of this class, and we are going to move on to the next. Just double checking. I do not have any additional questions.